I lay out 7 different ways to make love purposeful in your life. We're in a purpose drought or purpose, recession. The old things that used to give us purpose, like the church or family or economic opportunity, are kind of dwindling. My oldest son, Anthony, he died of an accidental drug overdose. And that grief mixed with all that other kind of dissatisfaction I had really had me questioning, why we're here, why we go through all of this. And writing for me has always been a way to kind of crystallize my thoughts and clarify my thoughts. So I started this as a Substack post, just a blog. I wrote those posts and then decided over the past year to put it into a book form. The name of the book is Love and Grow. And the subtitle is Find Purpose, Transcend Suffering. I wanted to make it not just a theoretical book, but really something you could operationalize and make real in your life. We can build purpose in our lives through a focus on love and growth, because those are 2 uniquely human capabilities.
Having a beer with Fred is really about getting to people's passion and what makes them tick. Having a beer and having honest, frank, clear conversation that inspires our audience is what it's about.
Cheers, brother. We haven't had a beer together or a drink. Having a beer with
this is not that's not vodka.
That's okay. Like this, as you may be aware from watching some of the shows, is about relaxing, having a beer or having a drink or just having a water, and talking about what's going on in your life. And I've done a lot of shows from a lot of different people. And what's nice is I've been able to do some from years and years ago, or like in the last 15 years, but we go back now close to 40 years. Go back to Cheverus High School in 1975, 76, 77, 78. And when I think of you, I always think of your dad and your family business, Ascano Painting, and
Right.
how you had a family painting business. And back when the old port was being developed and some of the, a lot of the big jobs were getting done, even small jobs that your family did. And it was what I call as a true, family business. And your dad and you got out of college, and I don't know how you ended up back in the business. You're proud Italian heritage, right? Both mom and dad, or?
Well, I'm actually 3/4 Italian, 1/4 Norwegian. So my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was from Norway. So, but my dad
Yeah.
grew up in Sicily, didn't come to the US until he was 27 years old. And it's actually an interesting story. He came over on a 90-day visa, and it was kind of an arranged marriage, if you will. So he had 90 days to meet my mom, and they both had kind of that time period to get to know each other and decide if they wanted to be together and get married. Because if my father didn't, so to say, close the deal within that 90 days, he was going back to Italy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and you had how many brothers and sisters?
Yeah, there's no sisters allowed in
No
our
sisters.
family.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have 4 brothers, and I'm the oldest of the 5 of us.
Yeah. And your mom's still alive, right?
Yep, she is the picture of health, although she's got some shoulder issues. I think she's gonna have another shoulder surgery. But gee, at 85, we should all hope to be as healthy and active
Yeah.
as she is.
That's great. But we've run into each other over the years, and I know that the painting business evolved to the point where you sold. I think you had the real estate. You had that, which was smart, and you sold that, and the painting business, and you wanted to move on, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, well, the recession of, boy, I think it was the late 80s, hit the all construction really hard. And it was clear that we had to downsize the painting business, and there just wasn't enough, income, so to speak, coming in for me to support my family and my dad and mom to support their needs and what have you. So yeah, I went looking for a different opportunity, and was fortunate through a series of events to ultimately be hired at Unum in the early '90s, and I got my first job. It was a sales job with Unum in '93 in Chicago, and then moved around the country with Unum, came back to Portland just before they merged with another insurance company, and so that kind of launched my career in insurance and employee benefits, which was a big change from the construction painting business, but it was really, it's been my career for the past 30 some odd years. It's been a great career, great way to meet people. It's been lucrative, all that sort of stuff. Not as
Then you
lucrative as
just,
the beer business.
I don't know about that. It's but you decided to start your own business, kind of consulting in that game, right? So now you're working for yourself and kind of engaging customers, taking your expertise and putting it out there, right?
Yeah, during that summer of COVID, summer of 2020, I just decided that I was working for a very large employee benefits consulting company, and just decided that that whole corporate scene was getting old. Didn't like the travel so much, what have you, and decided that I could do something kind of on my own as start to wind down my career. I'm getting old, Fred. So
Well, we're all in that same boat, but we recently got
yeah.
together and I mentioned what I was doing with these talks about entrepreneurship and that you were doing and then you said, "Hey, listen, I've got something new. I just wrote a book." And I said, we need to talk about that because when anybody our age all of a sudden writes a book, it's got to be sparked from some reason or something or some mission. You don't just decide in your 60s, I'm going to write a book unless you're looking back or looking forward. Tell us the name, the name of the book and a little more about it.
The name of the book is Love and Grow, and the subtitle is Find Purpose, Transcend Suffering. And the genesis of the book is really my kind of I don't know, life story, or just the feeling that I've had. I think virtually my entire life of kind of feeling like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. No matter how good things were going, there was always this kind of feeling of dissatisfaction, of not living up to my standards or capabilities. And I think part of that comes from, a little part of it comes from my upbringing, being the oldest of five boys in our family, with a dad that had recently come over from the old country. There was a lot of expectations on taking advantage of all the hard work that my parents were doing, sending me to Cheverus, and that was no easy task for them
Yeah.
at all.
So just for
And
the
and
viewers, yeah, just for the viewers, that Cheverus High School is a Jesuit high school Louis and I both went to in Portland, Maine, and it was all boys at the time, and it was a pretty serious school. You wore a sport coat and a tie, and you were expected to basically service unto God, give back to the community, give back to your family. And it was a Catholic school. It was pretty strict, even though we had a lot of fun and we played around a lot. And I do remember, I hear what you said. Do you think it related to religion? Do you think it was your family? Do you think there was a, there was a bit there when I I was living in Gray, still, with a family home and going to Cheverus. It was a big transition from going to public school into that because I think even the school had some, expectations put up at the time, mostly Jesuits that were teaching us, right?
yeah, yeah,
Do you feel
exactly.
it was
Well,
more family? Do you feel it was more family? Do you feel it was more?
yeah, it was definitely family. And a part of it is, my dad was the youngest of four kids growing up in Sicily. And in Sicily, there's not a ton of, it's not the land of opportunity like America is to some extent. And, uh, and so and he was in a family of professionals, but he was not a student, probably had attention deficit disorder. He loved playing soccer, so his dream was to become a soccer player. And he gets to be 18, 19, 20 years old, realizes that dream is not going to happen, and he is not prepared for life, basically, and actually had to leave Sicily because he would have embarrassed the family because the only jobs he could qualify for were kind of menial type of jobs. So they shipped him up to Switzerland, and he spent 5 years with his cousin learning how to house paint. That's how he became a painter, and that then eventually came to the U.S. and met my mom and what have you. So as a kid, I can remember my dad, we'd be sitting around the kitchen table having dinner, or after, maybe just after dinner, and I must have been no more than 8 or 9, so my, youngest brother at the time might have been 3, and my dad would haul out the Yellow Pages, and he would go through the Yellow Pages, and he'd go to the doctors and lawyers first, and he'd be like, "Do you see any any Italian doctors, any Italian lawyers?" And then he'd go to the bricklayers and the painters, and so this was our dinner conversation about
Right,
so
right.
it was
You need to do more. You
Yep.
need to be better. And then
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So you went on from the painting business, and this book, if you had to say it in 3 or 4 words, like highlighted, what do you think you want people to get from it? What do you want people to learn from it? Or was it more you needed to write it for your self growth and maybe leave some of that? I know about this a little bit because I've had friends and other discussions with men. I mean, women feel this too. Obviously, mothers do and things, but I do know what you're talking about instinctively because I have had some self journey into how you feel and what you do in your family order and responsibility to family, so and family community and living up to expectations. But what do when you embarked on this book, what did you really want to get for yourself, and what did you want to impart to others?
Yeah, well, writing for me has always been a way to kind of, yeah, crystallize my thoughts and clarify my thoughts. So I started this as a Substack post, just a blog, and I did it to kind of work out this theory I had that life is inherently difficult. It's kind of a Buddhist theory that life is suffering type of thing. And I certainly was feeling that, and I had been a student of kind of why and how. The thing that crystallized it for me and kind of propelled me to write something was the passing of my oldest son, Anthony, a couple of years ago. So he died of an accidental drug overdose, and that grief mixed with all that other kind of dissatisfaction I had really had me questioning, why we're here, why we go through all of this, and that kind of lament is nothing new. I think for me, what and I don't know kind of how I came to this, but what I came to was that the reason we go through all that pain is the our purpose in life, and our purpose. We can build purpose in our lives through a focus on love and growth, because those are two uniquely human capabilities. Yes, a dog can love us, but take your dog to someone else's house and have that person feed them, and that love is
Yeah, yeah,
quickly uh, be redirected. And yes, a
yeah,
tree can grow, but it can't grow purposely. It's going to grow up and out. So they're two uniquely human capabilities. And imagine your life without either of those two. Would it be fulfilling in any way if you didn't have love in your life, or if you were stagnant and not growing?
yeah.
So I kind of worked this idea out as I wrote those posts, and then decided over the past year to put it into a book form. And within the book, there are, like, I wanted to make it not just a theoretical book, but really something you could operationalize and make real in your life. So I lay out 7 different ways to make love purposeful in your life. And the first one is love yourself, because
Yep.
that's something I've had to work on a lot, and it's still a work in progress. And then another 6 ways for you to think about growth, because I think a lot of people say, "Okay, I need purpose in my life, but I have no idea, what is that purpose? Is it, do I find it in
Yeah.
religion? Do I find it whatever?" I think there, in general in this country and in the world, in the developed world, certainly we're in a purpose drought or purpose, recession. The old things that used to give us purpose, like the church or family or economic opportunity, are kind of dwindling. I just read something yesterday. Wall Street Journal just did a poll. Only 25% of the respondents said they felt like they could work hard and better themselves economically, make their conditions better. Only 25%. Fully 70% said the American dream is dead. So and if you just look at rates of depression and suicide and
Yeah.
deaths of despair type of thing. So I think it's a needed philosophy, and I hope if people read it, it helps them.
No question. I think I come from I definitely know and agree that depression, anxiety, all these things are rampant. I feel to a great extent it's the media that is setting the tone for the sky is falling. I don't know if you get into this in your book, but if you watch I don't care if it's right wing, left wing, wherever, the tone of the discussion and the tone of the news is really slanted in a way you feel like the world's coming to an end. And in fact, there's probably never been more opportunity for people. I mean, you and I grew up at the same time, where if you needed to find something out, you ran to the Britannica Encyclopedia, and it was usually 2 or 3 years old because you hadn't got the new one yet. And and today, we have a lot of immigrants that work for us, or people that come to America, and whether they're from Jamaica, whether they're from Albania, wherever, and some of them in a really short period of time have created quite a life for themselves in America. But I find that friends of mine and people and the kids, that some of the kids you talk to really say, well, no, but they got a cell phone, a car, they've got all the things that we might not have had at our age. And every generation looks back and say, but I'm one of these ones that say to people, listen, it's probably never been a better time to be alive because of that opportunity. Because we
Yeah.
can travel like we've never traveled. We can, I just have, basically you can run a company. It's in Florida or it's in wherever, and you can do it from your cell phone here. So I think the anxiety, to a great extent, is caused by some of the tools that we've. This is just my philosophy, is that some of the tools that we have access to, especially cell phones, especially instant information, especially some of the media and the tone of the media. So I constantly try to listen to motivational speakers and other things, and hopefully within your book you're given some degree of tools there. And I think one of the reasons why I did want to talk to you is I think digital content is important ultimately too, to let people hook on. And you are a guy, we've been fortunate to have some really interesting friends. No matter what they did in their lives, they went at it with a passion and wanted to make a difference. I don't care if they worked at the post office, or a school teacher, or had real estate or whatever. They try to do it at the best of their ability, because I think of some of the things you pointed out, of the expectations, and your family definitely starts there. You called me and said, hey, I want to do a book release party. Where would you think, could I do it? One of your local, in South Portland or wherever. And I thought, well, it would be better maybe at 27 Hancock Street in Portland, Maine, where I'm sitting right now. Did you guys come up with a date? What's the date of the event?
Yep, it's Saturday, September 27th from 1 to 3 p.m.
Great.
And I
So
appreciate you offering up the room. That's very generous of you.
Well, you know what? The end of the day, and the name of the book. And are you going to try to promote? Or are you going to do a private party type of thing? Or
No, I would say this is open. So come on in. We'll have books for sale, but the book is also available in paperback or Kindle ebook on Amazon now. I'll sign a book if you have a book. It's Love and Grow with an ampersand. Love ampersand grow. Find purpose, transcend suffering.
and they go to Amazon and put that in and search
Uh,
for it that
Or
way, and you can.
Yep, or put my name in.
Now, do you have it on books on tape, or is it all paperback, or is it Kindle, or?
It'll be on in Audible as soon as I record it. So I've
Okay,
got to fit it into my
awesome,
schedule. As you can
awesome.
see, I'm in. I'd love to be there live and in person with you, Fred, but
Yeah. Oh,
I'm in North Carolina in my lovely hotel room here. So
that's awesome. Well, that's the thing. Right now, we can do these things no matter where we are, and we can keep on the move. But at the same time, everybody needs to take a deep breath once in a while and try to enjoy the fruits of their labor and their family and everything else around that. And I know that we will see more of each other hopefully in the near future. And I'm glad that we connected, and I'm excited for the event, and we'll share that, and we'll talk soon, and look forward to having a, a, a a cocktail or a beer with you in the near future.
absolutely. Thanks so much, Fred.